Hey friends, how you doing? We're just sitting out here on the patio, one of the back patios, and got a spirit fire going, and it was a beautiful day today. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. The mosquitoes have made their return here in the backyard. Not sure what we're going to do about that. Probably end up having to call a service or something because they were just horrible last year. Just sitting out here processing what's left of this tree from last year, which is still a lot. We still probably have some good firewood yet to stack and get pushed on that side of the yard. I'm sure the neighbors and my wife would rather me get it picked up sooner than later, but it's been so much fun. Just testing saws and axes, and you know, I never knew what the boar beetle looked like until I took this tree down. I've never seen it up close and how invasive it is to the tree. There's some bits of it where it actually gets in between the bark and the layer of the tree, and it just starts, and it's just terrible. It eats the tree alive. But anyway, I was splitting some of this last night. I was actually splitting bigger pieces. I'm just doing small pieces with a hatchet right now for starting fires and stuff. But I wanted to cover setting an axe head on a shelf and why it's not a good idea. Is it going to work? Yes. Do major manufacturers done it? Absolutely. Is it the right thing to do? Probably not. So anyway, I was splitting around with this guy. I sharpened it up. This is a Collings. I think it's a Verona. I'm not sure what it is. It's all gone now. But it's a fairly modern axe. It's not from all intents and purposes, it's not a bad haft. The handle is a little thicker than I would like, but it's felt good, decent. I did thin it a little bit, take the finish off of it, burn it, and put tung oil on it. But so anyway, I'm splitting. Let me see if I've got something. Probably nothing bigger than 8 inches. Some of it was a little snotty, but really nothing horrendous to where I would be unduly putting this to the test. It's got sort of a middle of the road profile. I have chopped limbs with this. It has been very effective. And I was just splitting with it last night, and I was kind of just cruising along, and then I started hearing something that was a little bit different. So we're chopping, and then let's see if we can get it to do it. And then I went like that. Hear that? Yeah, now we can really hear it. That is a sound that if you hear, you need to stop using your axe. There we go. That is not a normal sound of a properly hung axe. And so, what does that generally mean? That means something's wrong with your connection to your axe head. So it didn't take long to then figure it out. I stuck it in the wood, and this was sharpened last night, and this is what we got going on. You see that? So, see if we can make it do it. Yeah, there you go. It's just sort of a dull thud. And it shouldn't be like that. So, what to do if you're out in the field and you still have to use it? Use it carefully. I wouldn't recommend using it. I would hopefully you would have another axe with you and you could put this away and fix it. What is the fix? Well, carefully drilling that wedge out. If there's metal wedges in there, take it out and try not to damage the axe, and get the axe head off with the handle intact. And what you're going to see, I'm not going to do that with this, but this handle that 906 sent me that he carefully took off. Let's get the camera back up. So here we have a plum handle. Really nice shape. I really like this handle. He did not like this handle. And I said, well, hello, send it to me. And he was kind enough to send it to me. And he did a really good job. He did a video on that, of how to take an axe head off of a handle. And this thing is perfectly intact. And I could probably get away with hanging an axe on this. But if you notice, let me see if we can get this in the camera. It's getting dark. But that is a shelf. And that's a really bad idea for a lot of reasons. Because when you haft it, you want the bottom of your eye to be on top of this. Let me see. You don't want to be inside the wood. You want to be on the outside. You want this to wedge up into the eye. You know, you want to have good contact. This may have been on a grinder, and it was definitely a production type of situation. But basically what's happening is your axe is sitting on that shelf. So don't put your axe on a shelf, and don't hide it under a bushel either. Don't hide it under a bushel. So, why, you ask? Well, in my opinion, and that's just an opinion, and I'm sure others will chime in, but in my opinion, so we've got about 1/8 of an inch here. We've got more than 1/8 of an inch here. More than 1/8 of an inch here. About a 1/16 here. So we have, if you add this side and this side, have probably 3/16 to a shy quarter. This, so what you're losing is all of, you're eliminating the thickness of this all the way down the handle. You're eliminating a lot of that strength. The strength in an axe handle comes from the full grain running through the eye. So basically you've just cut that off and disconnected this, whatever, this 1/8 of an inch, heavy 1/16 of an inch of wood. You've disconnected it from the support of the axe head all the way around. Here you've decreased. It's the same principle as when you notch a stud or like a ceiling joist. You've essentially decreased the amount of support by the amount that you notched out of it, if that makes sense. So that's a really bad idea, to sit your axe head on a shelf. And like I said, the only thing you can do is to get your axe head off this well. Cut a larger wedge, and you might even have to put a metal wedge in. You know, you go through the whole hafting process again. But this, once it loosens up like this, it's going to break. It's just a matter of time. And your accuracy suffers, and it's actually with an axe head moving on a stick. Hello, it's pretty dangerous. I'm going to go over just as in better light, and here inside in the better light, I did want to go over the difference between sitting it on a shelf like this and not sitting it on a shelf like this. All of my contact on this is inside the axe head. There's no contact on this bottom edge of the axe. And I can see.
I put the burgers on, but Toots and Gunny are out there now.
Okay, I'll be out there in just a sec.
You don't have to go out there. I'm just saying keep an eye. I'm
Okay.
gonna flip the burgers in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Tootie was in here whining to get back out there.
Of course she was.
I let her.
She's relentless.
I let her go back out there with Gunny.
Alrighty. So I don't know if you can see it from here, but I have a faint line. Just a faint line of where the bottom of this head is resting, and that's exactly what I want. I can see a little bit of rust. I've got good contact all the way around this guy, and I've got contact probably, well, I'm seeing a little rust up here, which doesn't matter as much, but I've got good contact, like almost the first third, maybe a little less. I don't want it too tight, but you'll know it's a balance. You don't want to have to pound this. You saw how that, with a couple of pops of the dead blow hammer, it just came right out. But you'll feel that seat when you do. Now it just kind of went dead and it seated. So I don't know if you can see that. But there's Zippo space. Just the teeniest curl. And when I go to set this for real, I'll take a light sanding block and I'll sand that. Maybe even the file. But this is ready to hang. It's ready for its kerf and it's ready to hang. And that's a good situation. And you can see that in this handle, there's very little, really much, no run out at all. It's continuous all the way through the eye. And so we're using the full thickness of the axe handle to absorb the shock wave and to distribute the power into the wood. So I think that is, hopefully that describes what I'm getting at. Just remember, you're basically, the thickness of your shelf on one side times 2 is how much wood in this handle you're eliminating for transfer of power, absorption of shock wave and transfer of power. Transfer of power is first, then the shock wave is after. Newton's law. Anyway, back to the show. So anyway, I just thought that would be an interesting little thing. I just thought that would be an interesting little tidbit, just from last night's splitting wood. I'm constantly checking my axes. It doesn't matter if they're GBAs or something that I haft. I'm actually even more paranoid about the things that I haft. But it is important to, check your axes. So check your axes frequently. Stick them in the wood and check them. Now there are some instances where you're going to have shrinkage. The wood's just going to shrink, especially if you haven't oiled up your axe head in some time. But you can definitely see, can you see that shelf in there? Yeah, I can put my fingernail through that. Yeah, there, now you can see it. So if you have an axe head or if you have an axe that, let me get you back up here. If you have an axe that you're sure is hafted properly, that's not sitting on a shelf, and it gets a little bit loosey-goosey, the first thing I would try, especially if the tolerance is, if you've used it in the past and you know the tolerances are good, it could be just the fact that it's drying out in the eye. And so what I do is I hang my axe head in the vise upside down, and I carefully place the tung oil in and around here, and then I do the same. Once that soaks in, then I do the same up here, and I try to get it in every little crevice, and let that oil soak in, and a lot of times that'll swell up the eye, the wood in the eye, to where it's tight again. Now, if that doesn't work, then your only other option is to put a metal wedge in it, which I don't like doing, just because I don't like metal wedges. I guess they have their place. As a wood guy, I like the wood, but I can see the especially if you're a professional and you use your axe professionally, I can see the wisdom in having metal in there. So if all of that fails, you're probably looking at a rehaft or a new handle probably. So care and feeding of your axe is key. Checking your equipment and making sure that it's safe, sharp, everything. So anyway, I hope you all are doing really well. It's a nice night for a spirit fire. We're on track to have some hamburgers tonight, and that's going really good. It's not an apocalypse now spirit fire. It's a pretty easily controlled spirit fire, which is good. Last night I had a raging fire going. But I just wanted to thank everybody for the warm birthday wishes, and I'm still trying to get back to people and get everybody thanked, and it really made me feel good. You know, it made me realize that there is so much good out there, and it's worth going to bat for, and standing up for kindness and standing up for love and trying to make this a better place. And I think there's strength in people working together, not being divided. So anyway, Bellhopper, I hope you feel better. I know you're not doing too well, but it was still good to talk to you on the live feed today, or chat with you and see everybody. You know, whoever needs some support and some good vibes, you definitely have it. We've got the spirit fire here going, and yeah, let's just take a moment. Yeah, we can hear the fire now. An airplane and a fire. It's never completely quiet in the city. So anyway, lots happening, lots going on. Finally getting caught up and getting organized. So all of you take care. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you feel like it, hit the like button. And if you're new and you're wondering about subscribing, give it a chance. Subscribe. You can always unsubscribe. But I'm trying to get some content out that people that's worthy of people watching. I'm trying to do it on a regular basis, and yeah, all of you true blues and salty dogs and dogettes out there, thank you. New subscribers, thank you. I'll see you. Bye. Come on.